Happy Training Camp, the 8th version of the Vegas Golden Knights. Darren Millard along with the otherwise occupied Gary Lawless here at City National Arena. Welcome into training camp, Gary. The first of the 3 practices about to get underway in about 15 minutes time here at City National Arena. It will be followed by a session at 11:30 and then the final one at 2 o'clock. 3 different groups taking part for the next 3 days before the first exhibition game, which will take place on Sunday. Happy to be back.
I love to see the fact that you're in mid-season jab form. You didn't I didn't get on the ice yet before my first shift, and I got
I'm sorry.
a chirp from the king of the chirp. Isn't that the name of your podcast?
It is.
Your award-winning.
I didn't realize
podcast?
that you were not being able to hear our producer.
I couldn't hear the producer, but I heard the music stop, and I heard you talking, and then I heard you say something nasty.
We're going to provide commentary for the first session here at City National Arena from Studio 31. That's coming up in a couple of minutes, but before that, the general manager, Kelly McCrimmon, will address the media.
Yeah, and always fascinating to hear Kelly talk. General managers all around the NHL kind of do this. They give a little bit of a State of the Union prior to the start of a training camp, and this is going to be, for me, one of the more interesting camps we've had in VGK history. There are jobs and positions open for people.
Very different than a year ago. The general manager sitting down, he'll kick off training camp as we start our coverage of the 2024 Vegas Golden Knights training camp.
Welcome to the 2024 main training camp. I want to begin just with a quick overview of our recently played rookie tournament in LA. Our team went 3-0. We never trailed in any game. Each game was a close game, so it was really valuable from an evaluation standpoint, and really encouraged with the progress that some of the players there are making. And I think I've mentioned before, with development camp, with rookie tournament, you're looking to see year over year what type of gains players are making, and what steps they still need to take to be NHL players. So it's a good feeling for those players to come into main camp with some confidence. So it was the best tournament probably that our team has had at rookie tournament. And I know you don't put a lot of stock one way or the other, but there's a real good feeling with the job that Ryan Craig and his staff did in preparing our team for the tournament in LA. Main camp will begin today with 63 players, 3 teams. It'll be a similar format to what we've used in the past. From a health standpoint, we've used our off season to rest and recover. We'll have all veteran players healthy and participating in camp. We have a couple of players that were involved in rookie camp or even prior to rookie camp that are nursing some injuries that won't be part of camp, but the veteran players will all be here. And last year, I think we talked about it maybe a little bit over the course of the off season, but I think we got up to 14 surgeries that we had on our team, and the off season was valuable. I think the off season this year was 136 days versus 93 days last summer. And I know when we missed the playoffs in 2021-22, we really felt there was great value in that ability to have a longer off season to recharge. And at that point, we'd played a lot of hockey in previous years. It was long playoff runs. Obviously, last summer, was the shortest off season that we've had. Hopefully, we have more of those to come still. But it does. Training camp it feels like it's there kind of a month later. So really see a great energy with our team. Being around the players with the captain skates and just in the building and talking with the strength and conditioning people this morning. Really happy with the testing that was done here yesterday, not just from veteran players, but players as they grow older and you have expectations that they're going to continue to get bigger and stronger. I think we're seeing a lot of progress in that area. It's a real strength of our organization, the people that we have in those departments, and again, credit to the players for doing the work and taking advantage of the time. Expectations going into the season. I think we have very high hopes. Training camp is a little different this year in that there's going to be a little more competition for jobs. Last year we were the returning Stanley Cup champion. We were the Stanley Cup champions, returning our entire team. So this situation is a little bit different, which I think brings extra importance to camp, extra importance to preseason, an excitement that goes with the evaluation process of determining what the opening night lineup will be on October 9th. So that process will begin here this morning. With respect to Robin Leonard, Robin will not be reporting to the club this year. He continues to be unfit to play. There are unique circumstances surrounding this situation that the NHL, the NHLPA, and the club are currently working through. Collectively, we are assessing our next steps, and when we have more to say, we will. There'll be nothing further until then. So with that, I would open it up to questions from the floor.
Kelly, as far as the competition that you alluded to, does this have a similar feeling, probably closer to year one, as far as maybe the camp battles that you're looking into, as far as maybe the roster? Does it feel like that kind of excitement this time around?
Oh, you're testing my memory, Danny. Year one.
It seems like that's the closest thing to the last time there were camp battles, at least.
Yeah, perhaps. I think that year one would be the extreme. When you have 25 players that have never played together, and you're going to have things shake out. I remember for like a half a dozen games, William Karlsson was a winger, which when you look at it in hindsight, how could that have been, right? He's one of the best two-way centers in the NHL. Yeah, I think there's part of that. I think that it's an interesting question from this perspective, Danny. What that year taught us is that and you think you know these things, but when we lived it, it's amazing what people do when they get more opportunity than they had previously. And that's where, I remember at the end of year one, pretty much every player on that team had a career season. And, part of that is the fact that there were opportunities. So there's going to be some great opportunities on our lineup, in our lineup this year, and someone's going to benefit from that. And it's a twofold process. There has to be opportunity, but then who's going to step up and take it? Who's going to step up and take those opportunities? And I think that's where, as I touched on in my opening, the camp, the preseason games, that's going to be really valuable in terms of getting a look at all of that. So some parallels there for sure. Fortunately, I feel we're a little more set in our lineup this year than they did in year one.
Okay.
Where do you think you've improved most from the end of last year to now?
Well, I sure hope the answer to that question is better health. That's really the big thing for me. We had, and you can only talk about these things so much, but when you ask the question the way that you ask it, I think everyone knows that guys aren't playing. I think everyone says, geez, they had a lot of injuries. I don't know that you ever properly equate it to what the team maybe looks like on the ice and what it could look like. So my hope is good health. And if we have good health, I like the makeup of our team. I think, as I mentioned to Danny, there's going to be, some competition for, some new players on our team. There's going to be competition within our team internally for more opportunity, right? So that's all good. And, for me personally, that's a little bit, what I lived the large part of my career in junior hockey. You have players that move on at the end of their 19 or 20-year-old seasons. The players returning the next year are fighting for more. They're fighting for more. So where do I think we're better? I guess time will tell, but that's my biggest hope going into the season is the health part of it.
Danny?
Kelly, I don't know if this is probably too far down the road, but you still have 8 NHL defensemen on the roster right now. And you mentioned when you re-signed Kaden Korczak that he was ready to be a full-time player. Do you anticipate carrying 8 into opening night, or is that still fluid, I guess?
Well, again, those are all things that'll sort themselves out between now and the 9th of October, and maybe even beyond. But I love our defense. 1 through 8, not just one pair or two pairs. I think our defense is really the strength of our team. Our centers, our defense, I think, are the strength of our team. So when you look around the NHL, there's a lot of teams that can't go that deep on their back end as we can, and I think there's great value in that. So we're not in a hurry, to carry less than 8. We'll see what it's going to tie into, if you do 8 defensemen, that means you're 13 forwards, so it's going to tie into that a little bit too in terms of the roster decisions.
Kelly, you've mentioned the changes to the roster. I'm wondering, do you still expect the overall identity of the team and the recipe for winning to look similar this year, or do you think it could be different with the changes to the roster? I know it's kind of a Bruce question, but...
Well, no, those are conversations that, that we have collectively, and, it'll play out. I think our identity will be very similar. I think the foundation that we use for our team and our team play will be very similar. I think that within that there is going to be some tweaks. Bruce will speak to that more probably in time, that they got some things that they will try to add, or different layers that you have within maybe even with an individual's game. So that's something that we could see. But I think that the one thing I've always felt about this franchise is we've evolved into a real good organization, a real good team, but I still like to remember where we came from, and that was a misfit mentality where we had something to prove, and I think that's really always served us best, is when we have that mindset. And I know when we missed the playoffs, and I talked to you guys about it, we came back humbled, hungry, ready to go, and I think that's been a good recipe for us. I'm a big believer in humility and no entitlement, and those things tie into your culture, those things tie into your identity. That's who you want to be. So I don't think that changes, Jesse, in terms of who we are and what we stand for. And within that game, within that, there'll be some changes, I'm sure.
Ryan. Kelly, when you're looking at the opportunity that some of the younger players are going to have going into this training camp, and some of the new faces going into this training camp, how important is it organizationally to have those opportunities in front of you this year?
Well, the way last year went, we had a lot of players get a taste last year. So we've got a little bit of a understanding of what that player was in his opportunity last year. And I mean, you can go through the list of names of guys that came up from Henderson. So the one advantage you have right away is you can compare how they look this year to that, because seeing players in the American League versus seeing players in the National League is two different things. And as much as we want to be healthy and don't want to have recalls consistently, you do get an opportunity to see what's in your organization. So we've got that as a little bit of a measuring stick. The tournament in LA was a little bit of a measuring stick, and now the veterans are on the ice. So you see where people fit, and you start to project a little bit. So I think for a young player, you're very excited that there is opportunity, right? And that's where if you come into our training camp last year, it's unlikely there's going to be much change. Or the coming off the year that we had, returning the players that we returned, there wasn't going to be a lot of opportunity for young players. So I think for any young player, even your off-season training, everything that goes into getting ready for camp, I think it's motivating.
Back to Danny.
Kelly, what are you looking for as far as the 13th forward? Is it some maybe like Romberg ready to come up and take that role, or is it maybe one of the veterans like Aston Reese or Pearson that you're bringing in? What are you hoping to see fill that role in particular?
I think it could be any of the guys that you just mentioned, and I think that's really going to play itself out. I think that's going to play itself out. Jonas, we had up in that role different times. I think did it very well. Tanner Pearson is a player in on a PTO that has had real health issues. his last healthy season, he had a real good year. He missed the better part of a year in Vancouver with surgery that didn't turn out as intended. Last year he broke both hands blocking shots. You like to think those are one-offs, and he's had the ability to train this summer and he's healthy. And I think that's a big thing that's different for Tanner. So he's a Stanley Cup champion. He's had history in our organization with John Stevens, so we know a little bit about the person. So that's where he starts, and I guess we would see where he ends up by then. But those are all things that we're going to use the preseason games and the practices to sort out what we want out of that position.
So with all the preseason games, do you think you're going to see more veterans or at least players competing for those jobs? Do you think they play more games than maybe we've seen in the past?
Well, we have one less game, so that's part of it. I think for us to, we want to get a sense of how people fit together. So to do that, you need to have, that setting is valuable. If we're going to see who's going to play right wing with Jack Eichel, it's beneficial, to have someone get some reps there and get a look at it. Just the different permutations, I think there's great value. Earlier in the preseason, generally the lineups are younger. I think that's what you see across the league. There's no real value in dressing 17 veterans for game one if the team you're playing against is dressing 8. You want settings to evaluate. And we'll be looking hard at how that intertwines or how that fits as we go along.
Kelly, a lot of eyes are going to be on the battle at right wing next to Eichel. Just curious kind of what your take is on the guys that are in the mix for that battle there.
Yeah, well, it's similar to follow up on the answer that I just gave. Today it's going to be Victor Olofsson. You guys will see that when you get out to practice. Victor's the guy that played with Jack. So we want to see what that looks like. But there's going to be, I think you're going to see different guys that you'll get an opportunity there. Barbashev probably a constant on the other side. Jack. An elite player. It's going to be a great opportunity for someone.
Anything else for Kelly this morning? One more here.
Tomas Hertl has said quite a bit this summer that he feels a lot different. He wasn't quite himself last season when he got here. How different does he look to you?
He looks good the little bit that I've seen him, and I compare his situation a little bit to Jack. When we acquired Jack, I think he started playing mid-February, but coming to camp the next fall was just a really different situation for Jack. You're comfortable, your teammates, your coaches, you've got your house, you've got your family settled. So I expect that there'll be some real benefits to Tomas that way. So he's going to be. That's the comparison I make. It reminds me similar to Jack playing the part of the year and then coming in that next fall for camp.
Thank you, Kelly.
Enjoy the camp, everyone. That's important.
Thank you to Kelly McCrimmon. We will slide out to the ice in the first session for this 2024 training camp presented by Core Hydration. In just a little bit, Darren Millard along with Gary Lawless. A couple of reaction points to what the general manager had to say, talking about how this is going to be a much different camp than a year ago based on the positions available, which leads into competition.
There were departures this year. There were players that came to Vegas, were given an opportunity, turned that opportunity into Stanley Cups, 40-goal seasons, all kinds of great things that allowed them to go into the market as unrestricted free agents and cash in. Your good friend Craig Heisinger, assistant general manager of the Winnipeg Jets, likes to say, sometimes you got to cut down some of the tall trees to let the saplings grow. Well, there are a bunch of saplings that are going to be given opportunity, and there were some guys that really kind of fit the misfit mold. Victor Olofsson is kind of, Buffalo, gave up on him or moved on from him. He comes in and, this is a guy who scored 20 plus 3 times in his career and can really shoot the puck. Has looked really good on the ice from what we've seen. He can get from point A to point B. He's going to get a chance to play with Jack Eichel to start camp anyways. He's on Eichel's line. The first practice session is going to be Team Vegas, and the line right off the top that we can see is Barbashev, Eichel, and Olofsson. Obviously, Alexander Holtz drafted 7th overall by the New Jersey Devils a couple of years ago. This is a player who was, with Team Sweden at the World Juniors over 2 years. He was a guy they really relied on for offense. He's going to get an opportunity to play. I think if we check this here, he's going to get a chance to play right off the bat on a line with Tomas Hertl, and Nick Waugh will be on the wing with that line when they take the ice later today. So, and then the other guy is Pavel Dorofeev, who I think is going to start with William Karlsson and Mark Stone, and that's Pavel will have the opportunity to go from, what did he have, 16 last year, I believe, and now playing with those guys, can he crack through and be a 20-goal guy?
All these sessions at City National Arena are open to the public. Stop by. We'll bring you the first practice here from City National Arena and Studio 31 as we get set for this 2024 National Hockey League training camp for the Vegas Golden Knights, presented by Core Hydration. The younger players, the prospects, have to feel a boost of energy knowing what is available to them, and if some of the older players grab those spots, they automatically move up. But the different lineup changes with the big club that are available seem to center on the right side, although there is some potential fluid movement on the back end with pairings, and we're seeing a bit of that to start training camp with a slight switch. Shea Theodore is not skating with his regular longtime partner, Braden McNabb.
No, it looks to me kind of like the Hannafin and Haig proved to be a good pairing last year. I think they're going to, move forward with that. And then
Haig over on the right side, his offside, which he's familiar with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then Theodore on the left with Pietrangelo on the right. And then to me, that's when it gets really interesting. I think it looks like they're going to start today anyways with McNabb on the left and Whitecloud on the right, and then Hutton and Korczak left-right. But I think Hutton, Korczak, and Whitecloud are all kind of in a battle to see who's going to start the season with Braden McNabb on. And I hate to say the third pairing because Braden McNabb, he's played 18 minutes plus quite consistently, and that's not third pairing minutes. But that is kind of that's why it's such a strength in Vegas. You go into other arenas and the coach is always like, "Oh yeah, look at your third pairing tonight. They're better than our top pairing." It's not traditional where you would say, though they're your 5-6 defensemen, their ice may be a shade less than the 3-4 and the 1-2, but they're still really good players.
Who is that impression of?
A variety of coaches, all combined together.
I wasn't sure if there was a particular person you were doing the impression of, because I didn't want to overlook that.
No, it happens in like 5 or 6 rinks a year. You will go in, and before the head coach for the opposition, before the mics come on, and you're just kind of shooting the bull. Vegas has been so blessed in that area. The comment is always like, "Oh, this guy's your number 6 defenseman, eh? Yeah, he'd be the number 2 defenseman here." Something I didn't do the imitation that time.
It was good though. It was really solid. Had the reminder of Sports Talk Radio. Let's go to line 2, and the coach is on the air. Aiden Hill in one net, Jesper Weichman in the other goal for this first session. Among those on the ice this morning for the opening practice, Gage Quinney, Jonas Romberg is out there, Jacob Rabinett, who had a great rookie camp on the weekend, as did Ben Hammerling, and Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo leading off the defense with 7 skaters on the ice there.
Yeah, you were in LA and got to have a first-hand look at all of these young players, and lots of them, it's interesting. But Vegas has been so good for so long. There just hasn't been a lot of opportunity, and Kelly McCrimmon has used assets to moved assets for immediate players to try and win Stanley Cups. It's always been about winning so far within this organization, but there are still lots of good young players that have an opportunity to grow and develop in the organization. And listen, we haven't talked too much about Brendan Brisson. I think he has an opportunity to try and, if he comes in here and has a great camp, and scores goals, finds a spot with one of these elite centers, Bruce Cassidy might say to Kelly McCrimmon at the end of the training camp, I want this guy in the lineup. So that kind of opportunity hasn't really been there in the last few years, last year in particular, and that makes it exciting.
Of the lines that you pointed to that would be projected opening night lines.
Yeah.
When you go through the 3 practice units and you say Eichel was Barbashev and Olofsson, that's a line that you anticipate could realistically see on October 9th. William Karlsson with Mark Stone and Pavel Dorofeev is a combination that goes against what we saw last year. With some absences or departures, making that work. Nick Waugh being on the wing instead of his traditional center role. So they're trying a couple of different things at the outset.
Well, Nick Waugh, Vegas has had the luxury of playing him as the fourth line center for a number of years.
Little coach speak there.
Yeah, sorry about that. But he's not a fourth line player. And, with some of the...
Played up the lineup last year with all the injuries and excelled.
Yeah, and, with some of these absences, like that line to me, Holtz, I'm just getting used to some of the numbers. Holtz, Hurdle, and Waugh, I can't wait to watch that line. Waugh gets up and down the ice pretty well. Hurdle is coming back from knee surgery. He probably shouldn't have played last year at all. He came back because he was traded from San Jose to Vegas. San Jose had shut him down. But when he was traded to Vegas, he wanted to come back and see if he could help the team go on a playoff run. Well,
San Jose shut him down because there was no playoffs expected.
He had knee
there.
surgery.
Yeah.
It wasn't just because they were – for sure.
And Vegas had runway there.
Yeah,
to get
exactly.
through.
Yeah. Uh-huh. But, he wasn't himself. And I think now he's had a summer. Boy, we just can't help it, eh? We have to bicker about everything.
No, I'm trying to fill in the blanks a little bit of your incredible information.
He comes in after having a really good summer and has been public about saying, I didn't play to my standard last year. So I think that's a very interesting line. He, wins faceoffs, really strong on the puck down low. I can imagine him and Waugh deciding to cycle the puck in the offensive zone, and it'll be hard to get the puck away from those
Lefty,
guys.
righty in the center with the faceoffs too.
And then a guy that can really shoot the puck in Holtz, finding soft spots in the ice and having the puck put on his stick. I think that's a line that could eat minutes but also produce offense.
You have Howden with Kolasar and Pearson.
Yeah. Tanner Pearson, to me, is really fascinating. The last season that he was healthy, his first season in Vancouver, he put up good numbers. And he won a Stanley Cup with the Los Angeles Kings. He was a part of that that 70s line, which was Jeff Carter in the middle with Tyler Toffoli and Tanner Pearson. All of them had numbers in the 70s. I think it was 77, 73, and 70, I believe. Carter, Toffoli, Pearson, those were the numbers. He's a really smart player. High hockey IQ. Can score, can finish. He had a surgery in Vancouver that didn't go as well as expected, and basically lost a full season there. And then last year in Montreal, broke both his hands. Broke one hand blocking a shot. It got healthy. Broke the other hand blocking a shot, and but that just kind of completely derailed his year. He's had the ability to train this summer and come in with a fresh slate, and John Stevens was one of his coaches in Los Angeles and will be, an advocate for him because of, his teammates will be too. This guy has been beloved wherever he played. His teammates love him.
Should note it's a long day for the coaching staff of the Vegas Golden
They've done
Knights.
nothing all summer.
They've
done less than you this summer.
For upwards pushing 6 hours in their skates today.
Yeah.
They'll go for an hour. They'll go off the ice for a flood. The team will do video to prepare for the second hour, maybe a little bit less than that, and they'll come off the ice, do video for the next group. So a lot of moving pieces around Ben Hemmerling getting into line for the next group, Alex Pietrangelo having a conversation with John Stevens as we look over the shoulders of this first session of the 2024 Vegas Golden Knights training camp presented by Core Hydration.
Would you take your skates off during the flood?
I don't know whether there's time, to be honest.
I wouldn't. I have to get someone to tie my skates up for me. So once they're on, they're staying on.
Today won't be bad. Tomorrow
there's 3
is
days
going to be a grind.
There's 3 days of these triple practices.
And then Saturday. They'll play a preseason game on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then there's a day off Monday where they'll cut down the numbers. Guys that are going back to junior will be likely reassigned at that point, and they'll go 2 groups starting on Tuesday.
Dan Dubin and I will have the game on Sunday on the radio.
43 extra days of off season.
Yeah, what did he say?
From last year, the
136
Stanley Cup year, to this year.
136 days this year, and last year they had, I think, 93. Is that what he said? Yeah. So
you're doing the math.
I'm not doing the math.
No, you're fact-checking me right now.
No, I'm not.
That's what was happening right now. I said 43 extra days, then you had the numbers, and you're fact-checking
me. It bears
me.
out. No, I just I didn't quite hear what he said when he said it, and I wanted to make sure, 136 minus 93, you are correct.
43 days.
Yeah, it's over a month and a half, right? That's 6 weeks of 6 extra weeks of training. And, it's the elephant in the room. What does this do for Mark Stone, who, obviously, 2 back surgeries and then a spleen, lacerated spleen that cost him a bunch of time. He would have been able to go and heal for a little while. And then, instead of just maintenance, Mark Stone, for the first time in a long time, was probably able to do a little building in terms of what he did in the offseason. And I think Alex Pietrangelo is another guy that, able to – Kelly McCrimmon said recently there were 14 surgeries between the start of last year and the end of last year amongst his players. And, just think about that. That's – on a good night, you go with 20 skaters, 18 skaters and 2 goalies. 14 of them had surgeries. Think about that.
So even if it's a minor surgery, you're out multiple weeks.
Yeah. So this is that extra 6 weeks. I think. We saw the last time this team had time to regroup. They missed the playoffs, and the next year they won the Stanley Cups. We just posted a story that I did yesterday. I interviewed Bruce Cassidy, and I asked him the question, would you prefer a short summer or a long summer? And he said, well, I'd always take a short summer. That being said...
Is that not a bit of a trick question?
Not at all.
Okay.
The short summer, it means you've gone deep in the playoffs and maybe even won the Stanley Cup. The long summer means you missed the playoffs or got beat out in the first round. And what he said to me, he said, look, we don't have a crystal ball. Like maybe if we had to beat Dallas, who knows what could have happened. Right? And anytime you're alive, you have a chance to win.
And there's a strong belief with all the injuries and the players that came back for the start of that Dallas series that if they would have got through that, found their groove a little bit, it would have fallen into place.
Yeah, like could they have beaten Colorado? You would think so. Now, would they have beaten Edmonton? It's crystal ball stuff because the longer Stone and Hurdle played, after coming back from there, and Pietrangelo as well, who had been hurt late in the year. All of those guys, the more they played, Jack Eichel too, would they have found another gear and gotten better during the playoffs? And if that's the case, you never know where it goes. But that being said, Bruce's comment was, since we did lose in the first round, let's hope that there's a benefit to it. What is that?
Keep talking. And Ron, if we could come back on camera while the guys are just going through things with Bruce. Finish your thought there, and then if you're not going to win the Stanley Cup, wouldn't you rather be knocked out early so that you can use the summer to get ready for the next year? There's a benefit to the all or nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Point of view. This is what you were reacting to.
Yeah, I want one.
Beautiful sweater.
It's not a sweater.
Vegas Golden Knights shirt.
Yeah. Button
up. There you go. This is going to be part of the package for the 9th Island night. Do you want to hold that up?
Well, it's not big enough for me, but if it was, I love a good Hawaiian shirt. I love a Mai Tai too.
So the 9th Island ticket night and ticket offer includes a ticket to the game against the LA Kings on October 22nd and the shirt. So that offer is a shirt and a ticket. It must be purchased, though, through the website under special offers. That's the important part of that. But you get a ticket to the game against the LA Kings on October 22nd, and that shirt comes with us. And that is fabulous.
It is an XL, and that doesn't quite work for me almost. But
you're looking slim and trim. I think that would work.
No, I think probably I need a double. But if you do buy the double, it can double as a tablecloth as well, or you can hang. If you're back to my bachelor days when I didn't have drapes and you had to. Nail a towel over the window. This would work as a set of drapes. A lot of good uses for this.
What would it take for you to put that on right now?
Well, to disrobe and then put it on?
You take off your sport coat.
Somewhere Shane Knighty is reaching for dollar bills.
I don't want to get
to see me make a complete fool of myself.
Not going to work against Gary Franzen, who you work with on your wardrobe, but I would like you to take off your jacket and put that on. I
think this is more suitable for you to try on. Or we do.
I think that would fit.
We do have hand model Gordon Weigers close by. He could slip into it.
That is really nice.
Put that on, Gordo, and then we'll get you here on camera.
You can do a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Just slide by as they're back underway with training camp. Bruce Cassidy. This is his third camp. Third very different camp for Bruce Cassidy. First one, he comes in and he's putting his philosophy in place. Last year's the quick turnaround and leaned on so many people for their thoughts and how to work in coming off a championship, and that's something that he hadn't been in through a Stanley Cup championship, and now this year coming off the first round exit and some opportunities and competition in place.
Well, and you can see that he has Bruce plays a lot of golf in the summer, and let's come back on camera for a second, Ron Paul. Bruce plays a lot. There's Gordon. Look at that.
And that's an XL?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's maybe a little bit big for you, but I like it. But you want those sweaters a little looser, right?
It's not a sweater. That's a shirt. It's not wool.
You don't have a microphone. You can't talk right now.
Bruce plays thanks a lot, Gordo. Well, don't quit your day job to pursue a modeling career.
Okay, you bring him on here, and then you trash him.
He's my guy. We wrote a book together.
I like this.
We're allowed to. It wasn't on camera, but Gordon just threw the shirt at me. We are in mid-season form here.
You were talking about Bruce.
Yeah, so he plays a lot of golf, and clearly you can tell that he has, while waiting for you to find your ball in the woods, has taken the scorecard and flipped it over and doodled a little bit. And like Olofsson with Eichel, I think as soon as they acquired him, I think everyone kind of thought, okay, that's what's going to happen.
Because they did play together
in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Dorofeev, Carlson, and Stone. I think there's a lot of thought in there. Stone is creative. He can distribute the puck. Dorofeev, Chandler Stevenson said last year that Dorofeev had the best shot on the team. It'll be interesting to see if he does this year, because now you're adding Holtz, who's got a rocket, and Olofsson, who can really fire the puck as well. So they've got 3 guys, I think, that can really shoot in that regard.
Stone was having a career year.
Yeah.
That right along that pace last year before he got hurt.
Yes. So and Carlson was 30-30 last year. Carlson scored 30 goals and 30 assists. The second year with him and Bruce Cassidy, William did get hot in the playoffs. Had a really good playoff, a good Stanley Cup run. Played very well for the team, and then just picked up for that and played that way all last year. And then Holtz, Hurdle, and then taking Nick Waugh out of the center role on the fourth line and putting up on the wing. This is all, this is Bruce, the scientist, getting into the lab and trying to come up with a formula.
People have spent a significant period of time trying to come up with where the goals will come from and replace departed players.
Yeah.
But Stone with Carlson, that's a really good line for William Karlsson, where he was fitting in people, mentoring people all of last year. He's got Dorofeev, who's going to be a full-time National Hockey Leaguer, and Mark Stone on his wings to strike. If that happens, that's a really good line. Olofsson comes in, as you mentioned, multiple 20-goal scorer before, and Jack Eichel has just looked like he's ready to break through and push that 40-goal pace at times during his time. Thomas Hurdle scored 2 goals last year for the Vegas Golden Knights. Going to be a lot more than that. You see Nick Waugh, if he's playing on a line with Hurdle and Holtz, where he's not playing the role that he has in the past, where do his numbers go?
Sure.
I think there's some real possibilities there.
Absolutely. And, I do think that, with the addition of Samsonov in net and a healthy Aiden Hill, you're going to have an excellent duo in net, and then 8 really good NHL defensemen in front of them. Maybe you win 2-1 more than you win 3-2, and you don't score as many. Or maybe Olofsson comes over and scores 30 playing beside Eichel. It's wingers have success often based on what kind of center they're playing with. And Victor Olofsson hasn't had a chance to play with a center like Jack Eichel since Jack Eichel left the Buffalo Sabres.
Or in this type of system, right?
Yeah.
It was run and gun, and more structure will help the plus-minus side of his game.
Sure. Yeah, and he's a Swede. He knows how to play that way. They're well-schooled players. If the team is playing a certain structure, Olofsson will figure out a way to play within that structure.
Core Hydration presenting the 2024 Vegas Golden Knights training camp as we watch the first session underway at City National Arena. Darren Millard and Gary Lawless here in Studio 31. We talk about the goals and the different players that are looking for great years, are looking for opportunities to push the pace of their production from year to year, or those who have opportunities. Something that we discovered yesterday on the radio show in doing some diving into the radio show, the VGK Insider Show, Fox Sports Las Vegas. Goals for per game. Last year, with some of the players that put up big numbers, was identical to the year before in the Stanley Cup year. Goals for per game in the Stanley Cup year was identical to the year that they missed the playoffs.
Interesting.
So the last 3 years, they've been 3.20 goals per game. The goals just seem to come from somewhere, but end up in the same number. There wasn't the dramatic. Colorado was like 3.68 to 3.33. Edmonton was up and down. Very consistent. So
did you do the goals against per game?
I did not.
Because that to me is the more telltale number.
Well,
Everyone likes to talk about goals for, and
I was just doing
you
the
gotta
goals
score.
for because people seem fixated on
Absolutely.
replacing the goals
Absolutely.
that left. But I think the point is that they're already here in some capacity.
I
It's
agree
just
with you.
how they get there.
I agree with you 100%. I don't worry about that at all. I worry about goals against.
It's the opening day of training camp. I want to save something for week 2, so I'll do goals against in week 2.
And then goal differential to me is the most telling stat of all. So,
Well, okay, let's get into the goaltending conversation then.
yeah.
Jesper Vikman, a prospect, coming off his first year pro. He was part of the rookie tournament this past weekend with Carl Lindbaum, and they were fantastic, the two of them. Big body. You've got Aiden Hill at the other end of this practice, so two prototypical modern-day goaltenders on the ice today. And Ilya Samsonov is projected to be the other goaltender with the big club this year with Aiden Hill. That's a change from a year ago as Ilya Samsonov comes in, and I think that under this, what is considered to be a goalie-friendly environment, is an opportunity for Samsonov with Akira Schmid, slated to become the guy that goes back and forth between Henderson and the NHL.
Yeah, the best pairing they've ever had from my perspective in terms of getting the job done and winning games was Brossoit and Hill. And I think this can duplicate that. I think this is I think Samsonov, he's won a bunch of games. He won 27 last year in Toronto, 24 the year before in Toronto. He can keep enough pucks out of the net to win games.
And he gets on the streaky. He can go on runs,
He
right?
can go get real hot. And Aiden Hill, when healthy, like there's been big stretches where he's been like a .930 guy, and wins games, and that I know there's this huge argument. Is wins isn't a goaltending stat. It's not. It takes everybody to do it, but the goalie fitting in to help the team win is very important, and I think these guys both will fit in nicely in the Bruce Cassidy system and help. It's not about being spectacular all the time and trying to make the crazy athletic big save. It's about being in a position to not have to do that and doing it really consistently. And so that the players know, you know what, if we score 3 tonight, we're going to win. That's what you want from your goalie. And I think they're going to get that from Hill and Samsonov.
They're deep. Well, it's gone back and forth, right?
I know. It goes
we
back
all
and
get
forth
caught
with
on
me.
that. They're deeper. 1, 2, 3, in a much better situation, I believe, than they were a year ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago they went 5 deep, right? And they were, you couldn't really complain about having Hill or Brossoit, Quick, Thompson. 4 pretty good ones. And now you have 3 good ones and maybe a young guy that pushes through and really plays well in Henderson. And if hopefully we don't see a 4th goalie at any point in time, but if need be, he's ready for that.
Guys have all had a experience in big games. Schmid in New Jersey, playoff games. Samsonov from Washington to Toronto playing in big games, and Aiden Hill winning a Stanley Cup. And remember, he's playing for a good shot at Team Canada in the Four Nations tournament, so there's motivation there as well. Good stuff. Great start to the training camp. Continues here at City National Arena.